This is episode 67 of Pinnacle FC. I really think we can get a lot of views and listens to this one because it's 6-7, Jake. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you. Look, like my entire brand is predicated on stupid shit. 6-7, welcome to the club. So let's 6-7 this stuff, buddy. Let's go. You down with the 6-7? You weren't down with the wagon until I introduced you to this podcast. You down with the
Yeah,
6-7?
I've no clue what you're on about with the 6-7. I see it everywhere, but I've no idea what it means or why it's so popular.
Doesn't matter. 6-7 units of profit. Let's go on this podcast.
Six,
How about that one?
67 units. Let's put them together. Let's make that many.
We'll let Ben and Anthony just like make this podcast a wagon all around this being episode 6-7. We're looking at the weekend that will be across European domestic leagues, including the Prem, La Liga, Bundesliga, and Serie A as well. We should also mention in upcoming weeks, well, next week, the Champions League back in action. So we'll jump back on our Champions League coverage, which has in fact been a wagon. And African Cup of Nations, by the way, kicks off in a few weeks' time. It's going to have widespread ramifications. I think that's more focused on next week's podcast rather than this week, but something to certainly keep in mind. And we have the World Cup draw on Friday as well. You may be listening to this podcast after it's done, and we hope to bring you some content on that as well. On this podcast, as we do, we give you our angles, what we're seeing in terms of the weekend's matches, and then at the end of it, we'll pick 5 units to play with, or we have 5 units to play with. We'll distribute appropriately. All right, Jake, how you feeling? You're good? Everything good with you, Mr. 6-7 over there?
Yeah, all good. Just lack of sleep as you get with a newborn, feeling a little bit tired. Nowhere near as tired as my wife, but still,
Yeah.
yeah, we're functioning. We're doing all right. Been watching a lot of football, which is good. Getting a lot of time to watch football. Loving this midweek slate as well, because when it's my turn to look after the baby, pop the telly on, watch some football at night time. It's been great. Yeah, I've got to say, I know that the underdogs, quite a lot of them did the job for us last week, and I fancy a couple more this week.
Yeah.
I do think that the slate, and I guess it probably says more about the overall state of the Premier League, where anybody can beat anybody. I feel, apart from Arsenal. I think Arsenal are in a class above themselves. I think Burnley will lose to everybody and Wolves lose to everybody, but everyone else in between there, even West Ham, Nottingham Forest, who are down there, Leeds, you can see them taking points off anybody. I mean, we saw it in midweek, Sunderland drawing against Liverpool, Chelsea losing to Leeds, Manchester City nearly throwing away a lead against Fulham in a cracking game. So I do think it's making it very, very entertaining, and I do think this is a season where we have to, at this moment in time, back the underdog. As you know, we get into Christmas time and the games pile up, you do want to take the teams with bigger squads. But at this moment in time, I'm happy to take on the favourites.
Yeah, back the underdog when there's some perceived value. Some of the numbers just there isn't enough reward for me. We'll get into it on this week's slate, but I think you're right. Monday Night Football next week. We're recording this podcast on Thursday, so that's before Manchester United and West Ham. But Wolves, Manchester United, everyone beats Wolves except fill in the blank. So we'll leave it at that for now. Let's start off in the Premier League. Remember, all the markets that we use are courtesy of Pinnacle. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. All right, let's start with the Saturday fixtures if we could. I just don't think that there's that one game that necessarily jumps off the page this week in terms of like the match of the weekend. So I'll just open it up
Villa
for you.
Arsenal. It's Villa Arsenal. That's the big game.
Okay. Well, Villa's on
first.
great. Would you prefer to start there then? I was just saying there's no Arsenal Chelsea.
Oh no, there's no marquee.
Or Liverpool
no.
City this weekend.
This
Yes,
is the best
Villa
of
Arsenal
an
is the
also
best
ran
of the bunch.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
Definitely with you on that.
I'm happy if you want to start there. I don't have a play for this game, but Villa's home form has been really. Remember they started off the season struggling to score. They just put 4 past Brighton on the week on midweek, as there was midweek fixtures across the Premier League. I believe they scored 3 in consecutive weeks before that. Like their attack has really started to click. But they're playing the Arsenal this weekend, and when I'm just looking at the markets, there's nothing that I want to get involved with there, quite frankly. Arsenal, because as good as they've been in terms of coming away with results, particularly at home, away from home, the data behind them isn't great, like isn't as good as they've actually been performing. So they're going to play an informed Villa side away this weekend with their two center backs out. This is a spot where I think it could very well end in a draw, but there's no market I want a piece of. I'm not sure how you feel about that.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I do think looking at the prices, I am surprised Arsenal are only minus 105. I'll be honest.
Well, Mascara came out. I should say they could be down three center backs for this trip.
What a shame.
Go ahead.
They just have to put Ben White in there or Julian Timber. What a shame.
Yeah.
They are absolutely stacked. And worst comes to worst, you put Miles Lewis-Skelly at right back, Calafiori at left back. I'm sure that'd work just fine. But I actually think there's a bit of value in Arsenal at minus 105. I'm surprised they're not shorter, and I do think it's a bit of recency bias on Villa's part because they have won 8 of 9 in the league. The interesting thing about Villa is that they're still bottom 5 on all the metrics. The bottom 5 in expected points, bottom 5 in expected goals for per game. And just watching them, they've scored the most goals from outside the box in the Premier League this season. I just wonder if that's a tactic that they're adopting. Because in this day and age where everything's so stat heavy and everyone's trying to create the big chance, I wonder if opposition teams or the defences are just a bit more like, okay, yeah, we'll let you shoot from there because your chances of scoring are very, very low. And Villa are actually taking advantage of that and pulling the trigger more often from distance. I'm going to look at when I get back into the office. I'm still on pat leave. I am going to do a bit of digging into that because I do think that could be something that is almost like breaking the mold a little bit and reverting back to 20 years ago where it was get the ball on the edge of the box and shoot rather than try and get it out wide, get to the byline, pull it back. So that scares me a little bit if that is the case. But then again, you're coming up against an Arsenal team that just don't concede many shots, don't concede many chances, and are the best defensive team in the league. So I think, taking everything at face value, I think minus 105 for the best team in the league, what I think by a country mile, away at Villa, having rotated in midweek as well. Saka only came on for the last half an hour. Eze came on for the last half an hour. Gyökeres is slowly getting back to full fitness again, and Marino started in midweek again. Like they are slowly getting fit at the top end of the pitch, and I think that's going to be more than enough to beat Villa. So that I would be leaning Arsenal win at minus 105 because I do think that's value.
Yeah, it was that or nothing for me. That's the way, but I'm just going to stay away entirely. Okay, what else do you see on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the well with my Burnley bet from last week, which landed. It was 0-0 going to the 80th minute, and I backed Brentford both teams to win and both teams to score, and I'm thinking, what have I done here? And it finished 3-1. But the point stands. Burnley away from home creates so many more chances than they do at home for whatever reason. It could just be the way in which the game sets up. They prefer playing on the counter-attack, and at home they feel like they have to dominate the ball a little bit. I don't know. But in terms of expected goals, like they're 11th in terms of XG created this season away from home. They've scored in all the last 6 away league games, scored 10 in total in that time. Newcastle shown that they're not tight defensively. But going forward, they're still packing a punch and they're just a better team. So I'm just going to go back to the well with a Newcastle win, both teams to score against Burnley, which pays at plus 213. So it's a big old number. And I'm getting involved in that.
Yeah. Little bit of a different play, but kind of the same mindset behind it. Burnley have shipped 21 goals away from home in 7 away matches, and their expected goals against is just about right on that number. They're going to Newcastle, one of the better, not only home sides, but decent enough attacking side, 4th best in terms of expected goals as well. I just look both teams to score. No, not both teams to score. Newcastle to win and over 2.5 goals scored in the game. So it's just backing Newcastle to win the game. And if both teams to score plays, that's fine. At minus 114, I just thought that was maybe a little bit of a better way to approach things. You're not getting as much juice backing that approach, but I'm fine with that as a play. And I will be making that play. It's not going to make my best bet board, but I think that the numbers, just everything dictates that that's the way to go. So both teams to score. If you want to approach it in a different way, just over 2.5. That's my preferred approach for this game. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I'm going to get onto one of the underdogs now. Leeds at home to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not just coming at this from a recency bias because Leeds beat Chelsea, but Leeds' underlying data has been good all season, especially at home. We've been banging that drum. I made the fool's choice of siding with them away from home a couple of times in the last 4 weeks, but Not at home, they're a completely different kettle of fish. I know they've had a couple of poorer results in front of their own fans, but even against Villa when they lost, like it was just two long range goals from Villa. They created plenty of chances in that one, Leeds to win, and ultimately they're up against a Liverpool team that just they're not so unconvincing. I mean, midweek against Sunderland, they were passive, I would say, especially in the first half. And Sunderland looked really comfortable until the last 15 minutes. And I personally don't think this Leeds side are miles away from Sunderland in terms of level. And I also like the fact that Leeds are they're so physical. So physical. They're a massive team in general in terms of size. The way in which now that they're playing a two up front with Calvert-Lewin and Nemecha, like that's going to cause Konate and Van Dijk some huge problems. And yeah, I think that's going to be a big. It's a difficult matchup for Liverpool. These kind of games where physically their midfield just doesn't match up very well. I mean, you've only got Szoboszlai who can run really. I know McAllister's very good on the ball, but yeah. So I'm taking Leeds. The handicap. The line was +3/4 when I did my notes. You can still get that at -125, but I'll just take them to avoid defeat at +105. So that's +0 on the handicap. Yeah, I do quite like this. And if you can get player props, have a little look at Konate and Van Dijk to be carded as well, because yeah, they looked all over the place on Monday. When they play Wednesday again. Yeah, they're not having a very good time of it.
Ellen Park, difficult place to go. I make pro or Leeds skewed bets when they're playing at home. Away from home, like it's not even an automatic fade. It's like probably you don't touch, don't go there. But you want to speak about recency bias. What about Liverpool and the goals totals? Like, why is this game set at 2 3/4? Like, Liverpool are still second in the Premier League in away expected goals. And Leeds, as you documented, a much better attacking side, a dangerous side, playing the two up top in attack rather than what they don't produce when they're away from home. I like over the total in this game. This will be making my board this week, over 2 1/4 at -111. I think there's goals in this game. I think that it can well eclipse 3 in this one. And I know it's more of a standard public play, betting the over here. It's just, I think there's been too much of a market correction at times when Liverpool have been playing these lower scoring games. Remember the players that they do have in this team. And I think that Leeds, they put 3 past a Chelsea side that's been performing very well defensively, just in terms of their overall metrics in recent weeks. And they put 3 past them midweek. So I like over the total of 2 3/4 at -111. And this will be making my board this week. So.
Nice.
All right. Anything else from the Saturday fixtures?
Yeah, we're going to rinse and repeat with Spurs at home again as well, because they landed that for us last week. We were on Fulham on the handicap. Fulham had a similarly poor away record to Brentford. I think before that game, Fulham had won 1, lost 5 away from home. Brentford go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium having won 1 and lost 6 of their 7 away from home. But if anything, I'm more convinced by Brentford's away performances than I am Fulham's. I mean, you only have to look at their XG totals away from home Brentford. So they've generated 10.7 expected goals and conceded 9.5 expected goals. So that's a positive expected goals process away from home. And if you look at expected points, they've actually been the 7th best team when travelling. And as we mentioned last week, Spurs at home are just miserable. 1, 2, and 4. Just I mean, they shot themselves in the foot last week, didn't they, with the silly goals that they conceded. Vicario with a glaring error, but as soon as they went behind, the fans were turning on them. Like that's how toxic it's getting already. So if Brentford score early here, then obviously it's the Thomas Frank derby as well. Let's not forget that. They'll want to get one over on the manager that left them.
The Thomas Frank derby.
Yeah, we've got the Dyche derby as well, haven't we? The Forest Everton. So. Yeah, but I think Brentford on the handicap. It's +1/4 goal, -115. More than happy to take that. If you want a bigger number, Brentford just win the game. This Spurs team are awful.
Yep. Brentford, just a note on them, they made 5 changes midweek. It was completely unnecessary. But or maybe it was just with having eyes for the weekend.
Yeah.
Playing
that's great,
against
isn't it?
Spurs rather
really
than against Arsenal. So
they want to rattle Frank. That's quality, isn't it?
That's why that was the only, one of the only justifiable reasons why they go on and do that, coming off a good performance last weekend in a win as well. So I think they have eyes for this game for many different reasons.
Love
Spurs
it.
more beatable than Arsenal, and the Thomas Frank derby. I will say this, and we mentioned it last time that that Spurs played at home. Christian Romero was suspended, right? And like the point totals with Romero and without, like last week, Romero had to score twice against Newcastle
Yeah.
to come away with the 2-2 draw. Like he's their most important player on their team by some margin, maybe until Kulusevski and some of the other players return from injury. So just to keep in mind, Romero's back in the team. I'm just going to stay away. I would have liked to have seen Brentford with a little bit more juice in order to make this play, but I understand your rationale. I put Spurs v Brentford. I circled Brentford and I put question mark. I was just looking for the best way to get on side and just haven't quite got there yet. But
Maybe to score twice, plus 157.
I was absolutely considering that as well. That very well could be the way. How about this as a play? And I'm going to make this as one of my plays of the week as well. Bounce back spot for Chelsea to win at Bournemouth at plus 116. Bournemouth are not playing like they did at the beginning of the season, like at all. They're missing a number of players through suspension and injury. Adams and Brooks. Semenyo has come back from. I don't think he's fully fit. Like he did not look fully fit midweek. They haven't won in their last 5. They've gone up twice at home against Sunderland, only to throw that away. Sunderland had never come back from being 2 goals down to earning a point. I believe in the Premier League. It's incredible. Like so, Bournemouth. They're missing Senese as well, like a number of different players. And this seems to be a good bounce back spot for Chelsea. Like a week ago, they were drawing Arsenal, and you're like, okay, maybe Chelsea are that defined number 2 in the Premier League. And if they're going to be that, and look, they went to Ellen Road, it's a difficult spot. I think it was just a letdown spot coming off that Arsenal game. But this is the bounce back spot for Chelsea. Now, plus 116, you're getting plenty of juice there. A top 3 away side in the Premier League based on the data as well. So let's back Chelsea to win. This will be making my board as well, Jake.
You're a brave man. I've been waiting for the Chelsea bandwagon to come crashing to a halt for a while midweek. Now, and it did in midweek. And I do wonder. I mean, I know he didn't. Did he start in midweek? I think he came off the bench. Cole Palmer. I think
he did come off the bench.
Yeah, I think his return is no good for Chelsea because I think they've found a really nice formula with Fernandes in the 10, Caicedo, James playing in midfield, Estevao.
James didn't play midweek. Like there was some rotation as well.
Fernandes played deeper, and I think that hurt them in terms of their creativity because I think he's so good, and he just makes that midfield that midfield 3 just knits together so nicely. Whereas Palmer's a bit more of a free spirit and probably doesn't do as much of the hard yard. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. Because
Caicedo's suspended. That's so Fernandes will play a little bit deeper. That's the rationale.
I know Bournemouth have had a couple of bad results, but I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're
Brooks, Senese, Adam, Cook, all out.
Yeah,
Christie.
Yeah,
they're not that deep to begin with. I just think that this is a good spot for Chelsea. I'm not anti Bournemouth, but I've watched a lot of their game midweek, and they just did. They looked like they were missing not just one gear but 2. I'm a little bit worried about them right now. I'm not worried about Chelsea.
I'm not sure who the ref is, but this fixture last season had 14 cards in it.
Did it really?
I think the one at the Stamford Bridge had about 9 cards. I think the style of play that these two play is quite confrontational. So I'd be looking at the booking lines, maybe even a red card in this one. But like I said, I've not done the research on the ref, but maybe one to keep in mind.
Okay. The only other games I looked at for the weekend, City Sunderland. I mean, City defensively, just it's and Sunderland, I've been on them for a while. Like this is just a plucky, difficult team to play against. I think both teams to score yes and over 2.5 at plus 135 is absolutely worth a look. And then Fulham Palace. I think that Fulham's a decent side to get on side with at plus 159 to win outright. The games are lining up for Crystal Palace, and they've only won the expected goal battle once in their last 6 Premier League games. It's been a little bit problematic, and they're dealing with some injuries in the side as well, and they're not all that deep to begin with. Who's out this
Interesting.
weekend? I circled this one. It's not going to be an official play, but I think it's one that I might pull the trigger on before kickoff. Is Sar is out.
Yeah,
That's a
injured. Yeah,
big loss for a team that in their front three. Yeah, like who do you push up? Kamada to play with Yeremy
yeah.
Pina.
Nketiah maybe plays in there.
Ketty hasn't been fully fit. Yeah, I think it's a good spot for Fulham. I like the way that Fulham plays, to be honest, and I think they're deeper than they look
Yeah,
on paper. And other
I,
than Muniz up top and Robinson at left by, he hasn't played really this season. They're fully fit, so I like
yeah.
Fulham. I like what they showed against City, punching back multiple times to make a game of it at the end as well. Midweek in a five
Yeah.
four. So yeah, I like Fulham, and I wouldn't talk anyone away from making a pro Fulham play here.
I go down a different route for similar reasons. Though I think the goal line's too low. I mean, it's set 2.5. What? Didn't Fulham just play in a 9-goal thriller in midweek? Why are we getting plus 108 for over 2.5 goals? I know it might be
Outrageous strikes, outrageous hits.
they were, but the point you made about Crystal Palace's workload and the build up of their schedule, I think is fair, and I think that's going to lead to them conceding more chances. I mean, we saw it in midweek with Burnley. Burnley couldn't punish them because Burnley are not very good, but Burnley racked up, I think, 14 shots in the game. Palace had just 3 shots. So, yeah, that shows Palace are defensively vulnerable. Man United created plenty against them as well. Even Wolves managed to put up 1.7 expected goals against Crystal Palace. So I do think defensively they're vulnerable, but obviously they have plenty of firepower going forward. And City exposed Fulham in midweek, scored 5 times. I think the line's at 2.5, which, as we've discussed many times in the Premier League, is very, very low, especially when you've got a team like Fulham and a team like Palace. And plus 108. This is definitely making my board this week. I think it's I'm just playing the price really, and it's drifted. I'm interested. I'm really surprised that you're not taking City on when they play Sunderland, because I looked at that handicap and thought like plus 1.75 of a goal. Like Sunderland just went to Liverpool in midweek and basically nullified them. City have got Real Madrid away in the big Champions League game on Tuesday or the Wednesday following. Like, this is a pretty free hit for Sunderland. Like, I think they're very well set up to cause some serious problems, especially counter-attacking as well.
I do too. It's a difficult back-to-back away setup for Sunderland to go to Anfield, then go to the Etihad back to back. It's a big ask out of this team. If anything, I think things might loosen up. You play midweek. They haven't been playing a lot of midweek fixtures throughout the season. It's just one of those spots that I just don't want to touch it. I think if anything, there's goals in this game. And that's why I'd have a strong lean to both teams to score an over 2.5.
Yeah.
So that's it. I agree with you, but yeah, that's my rationale. Anything else in the Prem? That's all for me.
Yeah, all done.
Okay. La Liga. 3 random midweek games in La Liga as well. Barcelona have gone through this little bit of these home games adding up as they finally have their home stadium to play with. Real Madrid went through a week where there's been some like rumors about Xabi Alonso and him being manager there. Come away with the 3-0 away win at Athletic Club as well. So a couple notable fixtures as we build into the weekend, and the fixtures adding up for the big clubs in La Liga as well. What are you looking at this weekend in Spain?
I have just one bet on my board, and it does involve Barcelona. They play Real Betis away. They're an appetizing price to win at minus 138, to be fair, but I just think there's value in backing Betis to score two or more goals here. It's plus 130 for over 1.5 on the team total. Betis are just they're a very solid team, finishing in the European places last season. They're 5th in the table at the moment. At home, they've scored multiple goals in 6 of 8 across all competitions. And Barcelona just defensively are a shambles, full stop, but especially away from home. So they've conceded multiple goals in 8 of their last 9 away from home, conceded 19 goals in total. And if you look at the league, the expected goals against in the league away from home, they're actually the 6th worst expected goals against, conceding nearly 2 per game, 12 goals in 7 matches away from home. Generally, when they play away from home, it is a high-scoring shootout. So I was looking at either Barcelona to win and both teams to score, but I just thought they're taking the result out of it just in case they do lose like they did at Sevilla. Betis on the team total plus 130.
Yeah, I was this close. This was like the sixth play that's just off my board this week for all those reasons. Barcelona a couple weeks ago played at Celta Vigo. They ended up winning that game 4-2. That's kind of like the frame, the mindset.
Yeah.
Like Barcelona, like a bottom six team in expected goals against away. They've given up 12 away goals already on the season, and I think that number flatters them to be honest. So yeah, that was my way of attacking that. Another game, just in terms of the total, that's just. I mean, this is La Liga. There's low goal totals. It's Sunday. It's Espanyol and Rayo Vallecano. The goal total set at 2.25. You can go take the over at plus 101. These two teams both like score and concede. Like Vallecano, away from home, has the fourth highest expected goals at 11.57, and one of the highest, the fourth highest expected goals against away from home as well. And Espanyol at home, the fifth most expected goals at 14.19, having scored 12. And their expected goals against is the fourth highest as well at 11.54. Those are big numbers. I just think that this total is set far too low. It's actually shifted out to plus 101. So I'm more than happy to take that, and that will be making my board this week. I also like Villarreal to win at home at plus 145, win to nil over Getafe. Getafe, in terms of away side, like they just don't create. They're the third lowest in terms of expected goal totals away from home on the season. I think they're a competitive team, but this kind of game has a 1-0 written all over it. I also have edges on Elche to win at home at plus 116, Valencia to win at home at plus 117 this weekend, and Levante against Osasuna. Levante have sacked their manager, but the one thing that we know about this team is they're the fourth best expected point total in terms of their away form in all of La Liga this season. They play Osasuna, who is like a real slog to watch or get behind. You can bet Levante at plus 3/4 of a goal at minus 113. Or if you want to play them at half a goal, which is a win or a draw that you win your bet, you can get them at plus 116. That's a Monday fixture, and it will be getting some action on the away side in that game. So those are all my one play and my other significant leans heading into this weekend. Anything else there? Any commentary on there before we move on?
No, sounds good.
Okay. Serie A this weekend. What's happening in Italy? Just another weekend where Napoli play Juventus, but Juventus they haven't been very good. Vlahovic as well. That's worthwhile to bring up. He's going to be out a couple months through injury for Juventus, so the problems run a little bit deeper there. Any plays this weekend in Serie A?
No, I didn't have any down.
That was a big sigh, by the way.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm just looking at the number again. Napoli just to win the game against Juve at plus 143 is that's a big number. And you've got the added drama that you've got Spalletti in charge of Juve, who was the man who won Napoli their first title for decades, and you've got Conte, who's a Juventus legend in the Napoli to look at. So you've got a nice little bit of narrative going on, but it'll probably be 0-0.
Yeah. Both have big Champions League games, honestly,
they
next
do,
week
yeah.
as well. So, yeah, the action that I want in on is Fiorentina still stink. They've won one away match in all competitions in their last 9. They haven't won in Serie A. They go to Sassuolo, and Fabio Grosso's side have done really well. Grosso's only played once ever against Fiorentina, or against the new Fiorentina manager. He's never lost. I just think there's some value at backing Sassuolo on the 0 handicap or the draw no bet at plus 109. Sassuolo being a combative team, they come away with some really good results, and that's a big old number for a team that, based on the metrics, have been like a top half, like side, especially at home in Serie A, going up against a miserable team in Fiorentina that even with the managerial change, don't look like they have their sea legs whatsoever. So
Yeah.
at plus 109, this is making my board. I think it's like some of the best value that you can find this week, especially when you're if it ends in a draw, you get your stake back. So
Yeah.
let's back Sassuolo on Saturday morning. to get things kicked off. It's actually come down to plus 107. So I had it down at plus 109. So that's my favorite
good.
play in Italy this weekend.
I was looking at that one too. I was surprised that you could back Sassuolo was plus 192, so they actually at the outsiders. You just look at the table. I mean, Fiorentina are winless after 13 games, yet they're favourites away at Sassuolo.
How does that? Yeah, it just doesn't really make
much sense. Yeah, and just it's just I know it's a small bit, but no team in Serie A history has ever recovered from such a poor start and survived. So it's not looking very, very clever for Fiorentina.
Yeah. I also like Roma on the handicap, 3/4 of a goal at Cagliari this weekend. Cagliari is the worst side in terms of home form, expected point total in Serie A, and Roma is one of the best away sides. And a win should be in the cards. You can get that straight up at minus 144, get a little bit more juice at minus 108 to back them on the handicap. That's all for me in Serie A. Bologna kind of soured me on them, losing 3-1 at home to Cremonese. That killed me last weekend, to be honest with you, coming out of nowhere. Like, Cremonese is a funny side because, like, the metrics are all really bad, but Jamie Vardy and company keep on coming away with results somehow. So full credit to them. Just a couple teams that are going to swerve for the time being. So Bundesliga. Let's go to Germany to wrap things up. Unless Jake, has something in the Scottish, like Celtic with Wilfred Nancy. I think they play Hearts this weekend, actually. Should be a good game.
Is that a big game?
But for the time being, let's keep our attention to the Bundesliga. What do you see there?
Yeah, my favourite bet of the week is Bayer Leverkusen to beat Augsburg. I cannot believe the price on this. You're getting minus 110 just for a win. Like no handicap needed. This is just straight up money line. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Augsburg, worst team in the league, quite simply. Unexpected points, they're now third worst, but yeah, they've basically been the worst team for a long, long time. At home, shocking. Worst team at home, lowest expected points at home, 4 defeats in 6. And Leverkusen have been the best team in the league, bar Bayern, since Sunderland took charge. And they've gone 7-1-2 since he came in. The 2 defeats came against Bayern and Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, that was last weekend, 2-1 to Dortmund.
2-1 to Dortmund. But they basically just made light work of everyone else in the league. The underlying data is great for Leverkusen. They did us a solid when we backed them last time. Can't remember who we backed them against away from home, but they were a similar price. I think we just have to back it. It's just massive. I'd put them in a similar category to Dortmund, probably slightly better than Dortmund. Dortmund would be about minus 140 here, at least. Yeah. So, yeah, surprise at the price. Best bet of the week.
Same play. Same play for me. Simply put, the only Bayer Leverkusen's underlying data, their expected point total in terms of their waveform, they're about mid-table. But I mean, they got off to a horrendous start to the season. So I saw this number and I was like, I still don't quite understand it. So
they have played a couple of games less away from home than quite a few teams, which will impact. Like Dortmund, Leipzig have both played 7 away. So have Stuttgart.
12 scored, 11 conceded. We're both on it. I'm considering this is one alteration, making a stake of more than one unit.
I am doing
on
that.
This game.
I will be doing that.
But so I'll just have to chop one of my other ones in half. Borussia Mönchengladbach is a very good team. I don't love the number on the board, but I will be making a play at plus 1/4 of a goal on the handicap. They're at Mainz, who just got pasted by Freiburg 4-0. And I don't think that Mainz has won a game at home. No, they have the worst home record thus far, 0-2-4. And Borussia Mönchengladbach have been like good for weeks now. They've come up with some good results. They drew Leipzig last week, a tough team to play against, good away side. Plus 1/4 of a goal. It's only at minus 118, but I'll absolutely be making. It's not making my board, but I will be making that play. And Bayern Munich, okay, like at Stuttgart this weekend. I mean, Bayern Munich provide the goals every week, but they've been conceding goals. They haven't had a clean sheet in their last 6 games overall. They've gone over 2.5 in their last 10 games, and both teams' scorers played in 6 of 6. Stuttgart, by the way, they're an overside. They've gone over in 4 of 5. And head to head in these fixtures, like they've just brought plenty of goals as well. Stuttgart haven't had a clean sheet against Bayern Munich in 20, and they've gone over 2.5 in 10 of 10, and both teams score in 6 of 8. I'm just going to play the total here, Jake. Like Bayern Munich could be conceding early goals. The Wheeler special, it's been binned for the time being. Over 3.5 at -111. I'm making that play as well. So yeah, they just create so many chances, so difficult to deal with, but they've been a little bit too leaky. Manuel Neuer's been like taking some hikes. It just hasn't been very good since he's returned from injury. To be honest with you, and the back line, all these makeshift like left backs and right backs, and I think the rotation has just caught up to them a little bit just in terms of the defensive shape. But from an attacking perspective, they're a juggernaut, so no problem back in the goals here.
I think the schedule's been hurting them as well. Obviously, in the Champions League, they've had 2 tough games, but PSG and Arsenal back to back, and no surprise that off the back of those games, they've looked a little bit shakier defensively. Could just be that. I mean, Arsenal in particular exposed a few weaknesses, didn't they, with the direct approach, just negating the press. We might see a couple of Bundesliga teams adopt that and have some success.
Yep. Okay. Anything else in Bundesliga? Should we wrap this up with our boards? And let's get back on track. Let's get rolling. We provide you plenty of insight and picks each and every week. It's just about getting our picks that we want to play for our big board spot on. So that's the big challenge for this podcast right now. So let's go here. 5 units to play with. What direction are you going, Jake?
So I'm going to make a 2-unit bet on Leverkusen to win their match against Augsburg. I am going to do 1 unit on Real Betis to score twice or more against Barcelona, plus 130. I'm doing a unit on over 2.5 goals in Fulham Palace at plus 108. I'm going to do 1 unit on Newcastle win both teams to score at plus 210 against Burnley. That's my 5.
Okay. Half unit, Chelsea, backing Chelsea away at Bournemouth at plus 116. I'm going to do a full unit, Leeds and Liverpool over 2 3/4 at -111. I'm also going to go the over 2.5 in Espanyol, Rayo Vallecano at plus 101. A full unit on Sassuolo at 0 handicap, a draw no bet at plus 107. And 1.5 unit play following Jake's lead, Leverkusen to win at Augsburg at -110. Follow along on this podcast wherever you watch or listen. Please hit the subscribe button. Please like and get involved in the comments as well. Some of the comments that we get on a weekly basis are brilliant. They make me laugh, they make me cry, and everything else in between. And if you want to properly explain your rationale behind why 6-7 is a thing, then go for it. The best suggestion, maybe we can get some Pinnacle swag together and send it your way. So I'm going to put that on our Pinnacle team. I'm just the host. I have no power whatsoever to make these kind of decisions, but we do have Pinnacle swag that we wear on a regular basis on this podcast as well. Good stuff, Jake. We'll do it all again Monday for our Champions League show.
Yeah, let's do it. Best of luck this week. Let's turn the corner.
Yeah, do you know what's even better than 6-7? 6-8. And we're looking for that next week right here on Pinnacle FC.